From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Russ Riesinger. Yellowstone County Health Officer John Felton says he's done everything he can to avoid what he had to announce today.
It is clear that the safeguards put in place thus far haven't been enough to slow the spread of the virus in Yellowstone County.
And with that, the Yellowstone County Health Officer reinforcing Governor Bullock's orders this week and increasing COVID-19 health restrictions across the county, reducing gathering sizes, putting a stop to recreational competitions, and closing down businesses by 10 p.m. Now that tightening down on the holidays tonight, there are 152 people hospitalized in Yellowstone County with COVID-19, more than 30 Yellowstone County residents in the ICU, about 24 are on ventilators. The county also reported 2 more deaths. Now Felton says right now the local asymptomatic positivity rate is around 20% and nearly 30% for those with symptoms.
Let's think about what that means. All the people around you who are coughing or having symptoms, between 1 out of 4 and 1 out of 3 of them probably have COVID-19 right now. That's what we've got to come to grips with, folks. This is not something that is just sort of an occasional person out there. This is very widespread.
So beginning tomorrow morning, November 20th at 5 a.m., the 25-person limit on gatherings is extended through the end of the year. In Yellowstone County, this applies to indoor and outdoor events, even if you can physically distance. Also, all places of assembly, including retail venues, bars, churches, restaurants, gyms, hair salons, must move to 50% normal capacity and must close by 10 p.m. Bars can only take orders from and serve customers who are physically seated. Non-household members must maintain 6 feet of physical distance, and only drive-through and delivery food services continue past 10 o'clock. Also, all adult and youth organized athletic teams, musical and performing arts groups can continue to practice, but no games, matches, scrimmages, or public performances are permitted. Now, this doesn't include school academics or sports, but Felton says if you question the need for this order, you should go to a website like COVID Act Now.
Every county in Montana is red. Every county, which means that every county is running rates of new cases per day greater than 25 per 100,000 per day. Every county in the state. As we do that, we're going to overload our systems, and then the question becomes, what do you do next? We're running out of options. We need to finally make a decision that we care enough about the people around us, our businesses, our healthcare workers, our public health workers, our schools, to do something.
There are some exemptions: hospitals, pharmacies, child care facilities, overnight cleaning services. And again, it doesn't apply to school athletics or extracurricular activities because schools are required to have their own plan. Felton says he knows this order is hard on our local economy, but he says, fortunately, Governor Bullock has scraped together some CARES Act money to help businesses. All across the state, Montana counties reporting 6 more COVID-19 related deaths today, as active cases have now surpassed 18,000. As we told you, 2 of the victims here in Yellowstone County, 2 in Cascade County, and 1 each in Missoula and Silverboard counties. At this hour, MTN reports a total of 588 COVID-19 related deaths across the state. And in Wyoming, the state health department announced 21 more COVID-19 related deaths today, 9 of those coming out of Natrona County, with many of the patients being tied to an outbreak at a long-term care facility there. Almost all of the deaths came in the last 30 days. The state total in Wyoming now stands at 176. Well, Thanksgiving is 1 week away, but this year, with the COVID pandemic raging, health officials say it may be best to put some Thanksgiving traditions aside, or at least do them differently. Here's more on what you need to know to keep your loved ones safe.
The calendar may say Thanksgiving, but for many healthcare workers, the COVID-19 pandemic has made this coming holiday season feel more like Halloween.
Going into the holiday season is where we have the level of disease that we have is actually frightening to some of us.
As the director of patient safety and infection control at the Billings Clinic, Nancy Iverson has seen firsthand the devastation caused by the coronavirus.
It is real. It causes a viral pneumonia that is very severe.
Because of that, she says if you still are planning to gather together to celebrate, it should not be in the traditional way. She says it's best to stay within your bubble.
That small group of people that live with you, if you're all taking the same measures, that's safer, okay? When your college student comes home, that's outside of your household. It may be your family, but they're bringing their exposure and their epidemiology, if you will, into that bubble, and you're putting people at risk.
Iverson says you should also rethink sitting down at the table together for the big feast. Consider eating outside.
Now that seems crazy in Montana, but if you are going to gather people, why don't you have pick it in the best part of the day that's a little warmer, greet people. But if you're going to have it what's going to put you at risk is enclosed space without masks, the duration of your interaction. If you do need to host, put people at separate tables. Households need to be at separate tables, and you need to have distance. And then if you're not eating, the mask goes back on.
Iverson says family gatherings are one of the main factors in the spread of the coronavirus, and that people often have no idea that they're infectious.
That is what's different about this virus, is that for 48 hours before you get symptoms, you are actually shedding the virus and through your breath, and a prolonged exposure is what's making people sick.
She says for this year at least, maybe consider starting some new Thanksgiving traditions.
Really novel ideas of maybe you prepare a meal and drop it off at a couple homes and they enjoy in their bubble. Maybe you do something virtual. Maybe you do some cooking together so you're socializing, but you're not physically together. If you are physically together, you really need to know that's proceed with caution, because it is not a safe event to do right now.
Well, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention also said today that it recommends against travel during the Thanksgiving period. All right, turning to Chief Forecaster Bob McGuire. We've got a pretty big game at Dayla Stadium tomorrow night. The West High playing in the AA State Championship. How's the weather looking for that?
I would wear a jacket because temperatures are going to feel okay, but they're going to get a little bit colder. Let me show you. It's time now for the State Class AA Championship. And who are we talking about? Missoula Sentinel will be playing the West High Bears, and here's what it's going to look like. Clear skies, we think, at Dayla Stadium at 7 p.m. It will be about 34 degrees with those clear skies, and our winds, they're going to be out of the southwest at about 9 miles per hour. So, yeah, I think it's not a bad idea. Wear a jacket. Even the winter coat's going to feel good because you're going to be exposed out there for maybe 2 or 3 hours if you are going to the game, because not everybody gets to go to the game, but those that are going, it's going to be a little chilly. I'd bring them maybe the winter jacket. It might feel pretty good towards the fourth quarter. We'll have the rest of your weekend forecast in a few more minutes.
Thank you, Bob. President-elect Joe Biden said he would not rule out taking legal action as the Trump administration continues to block the transition process, but he added he believes it would take a lot of time. And while the president-elect and Vice President Pence are focused on the coronavirus pandemic today, President Trump is focused on fighting the election's results. Michael George has more details from Wilmington, Delaware.
President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris met virtually with a bipartisan group of state governors as COVID cases surge across the country.
Beating COVID-19 is going to require all of us working together.
CBS News has learned some current and former government officials have had limited contact with the Biden-Harris team, but the president-elect says the delay in a full transition could hamper his upcoming administration's response.
There is no excuse if we don't have access to all this data. It's going to put us behind the 8 ball by a matter of a month or more, and that's lives.
The pandemic is also front and center for Vice President Mike Pence, who led a second meeting this week of the coronavirus task force.
We need to actually double down on the public health measures as we're waiting for that help to come, which will be soon. We'll be getting vaccine doses into people at high priority at the end of December.
Here in Delaware, President-elect Biden and his team are starting to finalize their top contenders for cabinet positions. A top campaign advisor for global issues and former Deputy National Security Advisor Tony Blinken is said to be the frontrunner for Secretary of State. But President Trump and his legal team continue to focus on overturning the election results.
Joe Biden is in the lead. because of the fraudulent ballot.
I'm confident he knows he hasn't won and is not going to be able to win, and we're going to be sworn in on January 20th.
Georgia has released the results of its hand recount, affirming President-elect Biden as the winner. Michael George, CBS News, Wilmington, Delaware.
And CBS News has learned that President Trump will meet with Michigan Republican legislators tomorrow at the White House. Also on Friday, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer are expected to meet with President-elect Biden in Delaware. Wyoming Senator John Barrasso has decided to become the new chairman of the Senate Energy and Natural Resources Committee. Barrasso announced his intentions yesterday to succeed Alaska Senator Lisa Murkowski, who is term limited. He will chair the committee in the next Congress, provided that Republicans can win at least one of the two outstanding Senate races in Georgia. If successful, Barrasso will have to step down as the chair of the Senate Environment and Public Works Committee in the new Congress. The Cowboy State, by the way, has been continually represented on the Senate Energy Committee since 1899. Well, the Montana Lottery has decided not to appeal a ruling from a Helena judge that said it could not require a business to have a liquor license in order to offer sports wagering. In October, District Court Judge Kathy Seeley ruled in favor of Arete, a Billings investment group that challenged the Lottery Commission with adding additional restrictions that were not in the original registration. Well, Seeley ruled in its favor. She also stated the group was not entitled to get a sports wagering license and would need to go through the application process. In announcing its decision not to appeal, the Montana Lottery also noted that you must have a legitimate business. Sports wagering cannot be the only aspect of a business. Well, still ahead on the MTN 10 o'clock news here on Q2, there is no sign of the COVID pandemic letting up, but there is renewed hope that a vaccine could soon be on the way. We're going to have the latest on that. And then a little later in sports, West and Sentinel gearing up to do battle in tomorrow night's AA State Football Championship. We're going to hear from the Spartans in a little bit.